Hey ho, let's go, guys and gals, and hello, my friends. This is your host Joe, Life with Joseph, with my co-host Dude, and I went ahead and made this into a separate vlog because if I would have tacked it on to the extravaganza, it would have lasted too long. We're going to talk about the jersey I'm wearing. The Spirits of St. Louis. I'm wearing number 13. It's Moses Malone. And you're gonna hear me talk about that now. That's Hall of Famer Moses Malone. So I like this jersey because it is Moses Malone, and Moses, when the Sixers won the NBA championship, I think in the '82 season, he made the prediction. It was 3 rounds of playoffs, and he said it was going to be 4-4-4. In his accent, faux, because he said they're going to sweep every series 4-0, 4-0, and 4-0. Well, he was almost right. They swept the first series. They swept the finals against the Lakers, but they lost the game in the Eastern Conference finals, so it was 5-4. Moses Malone is a Hall of Famer, but another reason is Charles Barkley. Now, I like Sir Charles, and I always have. He's not. When he talked about, athletes shouldn't be heroes. You should appreciate them for their play on the field or on the court. I'm not looking at that. I understand what Sir Charles is saying. I like the guy as a player, and I always have. His nickname it was the Round Mound of Rebound. And one of the reasons I wore 34 so much was because of Sir Charles. And I've seen a clip. I'll see if I can find it and link to it, where Charles talked about when he got into the NBA with the Sixers. He was over 300 pounds, and he wasn't playing. And Moses kind of pulled him aside and said, "Son, you are not going to be in this league at 300 pounds." And so Moses worked with Charles, and Charles bought into it. And they didn't say you need to lose 50 pounds. He lost 10 pounds at a time. Okay, we'll get down to 290 and see how you feel. He's starting to get a little bit more playing time, 280, 270, 260. As he dropped the weight, he got more playing time. He played a lot better. Charles Barkley is a Hall of Famer. The guy ain't no slouch. The criticism of Sir Charles is he never won the NBA championship, but he was on the Dream Team and won Olympic gold. So you tell me. When he got down to 250, he was playing well. He got to 240, and he didn't feel as strong. So him and Moses said, okay, 250 is your weight. And he played at 250 for the longest time. Okay. Hold on. So Charles praises Moses for helping him, working with him, and helping him become the Hall of Fame player that Charles Barkley is. I admire that, but that's not the only reason we're talking about the jersey. One more thing about Charles Barkley, Sir Charles, is I have said even when he was active in the NBA, I thought the guy would have made a hell of a tight end in the NFL. He's 6'6", he could run, he could jump, he's got hands, and he's tough. I think, my God, the guy would have made an absolutely prototypical NFL tight end. I haven't heard anyone ever say that but me, but I think the guy would have been a stud in the NFL. Now, granted, he played a lot longer in the NBA than he ever would have in the NFL. The NFL is a tough way to make a living, but I've always felt that way about Sir Charles. The Spirits of St. Louis played 2 years in the ABA, 74-75 and 75-76. This is the third city of the franchise. They were a charter member of the ABA as the Houston Mavericks in 1967. And then they went to somewhere in Carolina in 1969 to play as the Cougars. And one of the issues was that in Carolina, they played in more than one city. From 1969 to 1974, they played in Greensboro, Charlotte, and Raleigh, North Carolina. And they were not considered viable being a regional franchise like that. But let me point out, you know why the Warriors were called the Golden State Warriors for so long after they left San Francisco and moved to Oakland? Because they also played a few games in Stockton and Richmond, and I think Sacramento as well, but don't hold me to that. So instead of calling them the Oakland Warriors like they always should have been, they were called the Golden State because when they played in these outlying cities a few games, they wanted the locals to feel that the team was theirs and not just they were carpetbaggers. So now that they're in San Francisco, they're the San Francisco Warriors. But that's why that the Golden State Warriors are the Golden State, or were the Golden State Warriors. It was viable for the Warriors, but, it was not viable for the Cougars, and they moved to St. Louis. Noted announcer Bob Costas was the play-by-play guy for the Spirits for the 2 years in St. Louis. After the 1976 season, with the Virginia Squires going bankrupt, the ABA began to negotiate to merge with the NBA. It turns out 4 of the teams did. Denver Nuggets, who were still the Nuggets, San Antonio Spurs, who were still the Spurs, and the Indiana Pacers. Nuggets, Spurs, Pacers. I don't know. It says there's 4, but they're only naming 3. Now, the Spirits of St. Louis were drawing so badly. They were drawing in the hundreds in their last season. So they were not really viable in St. Louis. And the reason I'm talking about this, and one of the reasons I bought this jersey, is the owners of the Spirit, Ozzie and Daniel Silna, made a deal to, hold on here, I got to read this right. They agreed to surrender their ABA media rights for 1/7 of the rights paid to the surviving ABA teams merging with the NBA. At the time, that was about 2% of the entire NBA's TV revenue. Well, in the mid-'70s, y'all may not remember this, but prior to Magic and Larry saving the league, and I'll fight you on that too, the NBA Finals were after the 11 o'clock news, and they were highlights on the West Coast. We didn't even see the whole game. We saw highlights. The NBA Finals. Imagine that now. You can't imagine that, you younglings. But us old farts may remember that. Well, the Silna brothers made bank. As of from the time the team closed to, hold on here, 2012, they got $255 million in media payments for a team that hadn't played a game in 40 years. And these payments were going to be in perpetuity. Oh my God, they just hit the proverbial oil well. Oh my God, they were better than the Clampetts. Texas Tea, holy shit. What an outstanding business deal. I think it's one of the greatest ones I've ever heard of ever. In 2014, the Silnas reached an agreement with the NBA to reduce the still perpetual payments and take a $500 million lump sum. In the last few years, they were receiving $14.5 million a year for a non-existent franchise with nothing in media. It's awesome. I don't know how much they're making now, but it's some type of deal with the Nets, Nuggets, Pacers, and Spurs. And there's your fourth team. There's your fourth team, the New York Nets. So they're still receiving a small cut of the media rights from the four surviving ABA teams now in the NBA. I think that is one of the greatest business decisions, certainly in sports. I think it rivals with the Yankees buying Babe Ruth from the Red Sox. Holy cow, what a stellar move. And that's the other reason that I bought this jersey. Outside of the fact it's cool and I like wearing jerseys from defunct leagues. You know my love of the God, I had to look it up. It's the Federal League. I've got 2 Chicago Whales jerseys. I have a St. Louis Terriers jerseys. I have a Philadelphia or a Pittsburgh Federals jersey, and I recently bought a Kansas City Federals road jersey from Royal Retros, which I just haven't broken out yet. It's too damn hot to wear that stuff. So I'm going to film the close here about the Spirits of St. Louis and Charles Barkley and Moses Malone and making one of the greatest sports business deals in the history of sports in the United States. This is, as always, your host, Joe, with my co-host, Dude, Life with Yosef. Another story time. Thank you for watching and subscribing. Enjoy your day. Peace be with you. May Freya in her guidance show you favor on the hunt through a field so soft and green now and in the afterlife. And you know the rest of the spiel. And we'll see you for the next one.